Elton John's husband has finally shared an emotional update about the legendary singer's health, and the message has fans around the world paying very close attention. According to David Furnish, Elton John is continuing to push forward despite ongoing health challenges, saying the music icon is battling on. Those two simple words have carried enormous meaning, especially considering the difficult medical struggles the 78-year-old superstar has faced over the past few years. For millions of fans who grew up with his music, hearing that he's still fighting, still staying positive, and still focused on life has brought both relief and admiration. For decades, Elton John has been one of the most recognizable and celebrated performers in the world. His voice, his piano, his flamboyant stage costumes, and his powerful songwriting helped define entire eras of music. But now, after more than 50 years in the spotlight, the legendary performer is facing one of the most personal battles of his life, his health. Fans who once watched him command massive stadiums are now following updates about his well-being with deep concern and heartfelt support. The update from David Furnish came during a conversation about the annual Elton John AIDS Foundation Academy Awards viewing party, one of the biggest charity events connected to the entertainment industry. While discussing preparations for the event, Furnish was asked how Elton was doing. His answer was simple, but incredibly powerful. He said Elton is doing well, that he remains determined, and that he continues to move forward despite the challenges. Furnish described Elton as someone who refuses to let obstacles define him. Instead, he focuses on staying active, staying involved in meaningful projects, and spending as much time as possible with his family. For anyone who has followed Elton John's life story, that attitude is very familiar. The singer has always been known for his resilience. Throughout his life, he has faced personal struggles, health scares, and professional challenges, but time and again, he has found a way to keep going. From the pressures of global fame to deeply personal battles behind the scenes, Elton has repeatedly shown that determination is one of his defining traits. The most recent health concerns began when Elton developed a severe eye infection while spending time in the south of France. What initially seemed like a temporary medical issue quickly turned into something far more serious. The infection caused permanent damage to his vision. As a result, Elton lost sight in his right eye and now experiences limited vision in his left eye. For someone whose entire career has been built around performing, traveling, reading music, and connecting with audiences visually, the impact of losing his vision has been enormous. Elton himself has spoken about how difficult the adjustment has been. He described the situation as deeply frustrating and sometimes emotionally overwhelming. Imagine spending your entire life surrounded by music, art, and performance, and suddenly facing a world that looks very different from what it once did. Simple activities that most people take for granted, reading a book, watching television, recognizing people across a room, can suddenly become incredibly difficult. Elton admitted that there were moments when the reality of the situation felt heartbreaking. For months after the infection, he struggled with everyday tasks. He couldn't read the way he used to. Watching television became difficult. Even working on new music presented challenges because he couldn't easily see musical notes or studio equipment the way he once could. But perhaps the most emotional aspect of the situation had nothing to do with music or fame. It had to do with his role as a father. Elton John and David Furnish are parents to two sons, Zachary and Elijah. Over the past several years, Elton has spoken often about how becoming a father changed his life in ways he never expected. After decades of touring, recording, and living a fast-paced celebrity lifestyle, fatherhood brought him a sense of purpose and joy that he says is unlike anything else he has experienced. Now, with his vision affected, Elton has said that one of the hardest parts of the experience is not always being able to clearly see his children during important moments. He once explained that watching them play sports or participate in school activities can sometimes be challenging because his vision isn't what it used to be. For many parents, those small moments, watching a child run across a field, celebrating a goal, seeing their excitement after a game, are some of the most meaningful parts of life. Elton has admitted that realizing he might miss certain visual details of those moments can be emotional. Yet, even with those challenges, Elton continues to focus on gratitude. He often says that what matters most is simply being present for his children and being part of their lives. Whether he can see every detail perfectly or not, the love he has for his family remains unchanged. David Furnish has been by his side throughout every stage of this journey. The two have built a life together based on love, partnership, and shared values. Their relationship began many years ago and eventually led to marriage in 2014 after laws allowing same-sex marriage were recognized in the United Kingdom. Over the years, their partnership has become one of the most admired relationships in the entertainment industry. Furnish is not only Elton's husband, but also a creative collaborator, a business partner, and a constant source of support. Friends close to the couple often say that Furnish has played a major role in helping Elton find balance in his life. During the busiest years of Elton's career, life often revolved around tours, recording sessions, and international travel. But as time went on, the couple began focusing more on building a stable home life. That decision eventually led to one of the most significant changes in Elton's life, stepping away from touring. In 2023, Elton completed what became known as the Farewell Yellow Brick Road Tour. The tour was historic in many ways. It lasted several years, traveled across multiple continents, and became one of the highest-grossing concert tours in music history. Fans from all over the world attended the performances, knowing they were witnessing the final chapter of Elton's touring career. The farewell tour was emotional not only for audiences, but also for Elton himself. Throughout the performances, he often reflected on his long career, thanking fans for supporting him through decades of music and memories. Many nights ended with standing ovations that seemed to last forever, as audiences expressed their appreciation for the man whose songs had become part of their lives. When the tour finally ended, Elton explained that the decision to retire from touring wasn't about losing his passion for performing. Instead, it was about choosing family. After spending so many years traveling constantly, he wanted to be present for his children as they grew up. Today, his daily life looks very different from the fast-paced lifestyle he once lived. Instead of preparing for massive concerts in stadiums around the world, Elton now spends much of his time at home with his family. Friends say he enjoys simple routines that might surprise people who imagine him constantly surrounded by glamour. He enjoys breakfast with his children. He helps with school activities. He spends evenings relaxing at home with David Furnish. After decades of constant motion, this quieter life has become something he deeply appreciates. But stepping away from touring does not mean Elton has stepped away from his passions entirely. One of the causes that remains closest to his heart is the Elton John AIDS Foundation. The foundation was established during a time when the HIV and AIDS crisis was devastating communities across the world. Elton was deeply affected by the loss of friends and fellow artists during that period, and he decided to use his influence to raise awareness and funding for research and support programs. Over the years, the foundation has raised hundreds of millions of dollars to help fight the disease. Its work includes funding medical treatment, supporting prevention programs, and providing education to communities around the world. The annual Academy Awards viewing party connected to the foundation has become one of the most important charity events in Hollywood. Each year, celebrities, donors, and performers gather to celebrate film while raising money for the cause. Even though Elton no longer tours, he continues to play an important role in supporting the foundation's mission. The event remains one of the highlights of the charity calendar, bringing together entertainment and philanthropy in a powerful way. As news of Elton's health challenges has spread, fans around the world have responded with an outpouring of love and support. Social media has been filled with messages from people sharing memories of how his music has shaped their lives. Some remember hearing Your Song for the first time and feeling the emotional power of its lyrics. Others recalled dancing to Benny and the Jets or singing along to Rocket Man. For many fans, Elton's music represents decades of personal memories. Weddings, road trips, celebrations, heartbreaks, and unforgettable moments. That connection between artist and audience is part of what makes Elton John such a unique figure in music history. His songs have become part of people's lives in a way that goes far beyond simple entertainment. The story of Elton John's career is remarkable. Born Reginald Kenneth Dwight in England, he showed extraordinary musical talent from a very young age. As a child, he demonstrated a natural ability to play the piano, and it quickly became clear that music would be central to his life. His partnership with lyricist Bernie Taupin began in the late 1960s and became one of the most successful songwriting collaborations ever. Together, they created songs that would go on to become timeless classics. During the 1970s, Elton's career exploded. Album after album produced hit songs, and his concerts became legendary events filled with energy, creativity, and unforgettable performances. His colorful costumes and extravagant stage presence made him one of the most recognizable performers of his time. But even during the height of his fame, Elton faced personal struggles. The pressures of celebrity life, combined with addiction and emotional challenges, nearly derailed his career at several points. In the early 1990s, he made the life-changing decision to seek help and commit to sobriety. That decision transformed his life. Since then, Elton has often spoken about how recovery allowed him to rebuild his life and focus on the things that truly matter. Today, as he faces new health challenges, that same resilience continues to guide him. Losing vision in one eye and struggling with limited sight in the other would be overwhelming for anyone, but Elton continues to approach life with determination. David Furnish's words capture that spirit perfectly. When he says Elton is battling on, he isn't just describing a medical condition. He's describing the mindset of someone who has spent his entire life overcoming obstacles and refusing to give up. Elton John may no longer be touring stadiums or performing night after night on global stages, but his influence remains stronger than ever. His music continues to inspire new generations of listeners. His charity work continues to change lives around the world, and his story continues to remind people that resilience, love, and family are more important than fame or success. For fans who grew up listening to his songs, the most important thing now is simply knowing that he is still surrounded by the people he loves and still living life on his own terms. After more than 50 years of unforgettable music, Elton John has already secured his place in history. But even today, his story continues to inspire millions, and as long as he keeps battling on, the Rocket Man's journey is far from over. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.